Hello, and welcome to the True Crime Lounge. My name is Breezy, and here we talk murder and various forms of crime. Now, before I get started with today's episode, I'm about to get a few things out of the way. I do have a Patreon that you can go and help support if you would like. I also have a merch shop that you can go and check out as well. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for any updates. Um, Now, with that being said, we can dive into today's episode. This is the YouTube to my podcast, and this is kind of an overview of the episodes. This is this is kind of an overview of one topic of 5 cases that happened on Thanksgiving Day. But I will only pick one. I'll pick to go over these 5 in my podcast in a mini series called Thanksgiving Day Thanksgiving Murders. So, Thanksgiving. What do we know about it? Well, in 1789, Washington declared it a holiday and to be officially recognized as a day as public thanksgiving and prayer. It deserved acknowledging with grateful hearts and many signal favors in Almighty God. Since then, this has been a national holiday that America celebrates every year. Then, for those, Black Friday usually follows. I done Black Friday and I was like, nope, no, not for me. But then there's the Iron Bowl that happens every Saturday after Thanksgiving. And if you're from Alabama or the South, you know what I'm talking about. Now, of course, I always root for Auburn, but that's beside the point. Anyway, why don't we start with these 5 episodes as we briefly discussed them? Now, be forewarned, I do have a speech impediment, and I also am terrible with names, so I'm going to do my best not to butcher these names up if I can help it. But anyway, Amina Nelson. She was the model who killed, castrated, and ate her husband on Thanksgiving. And on Thanksgiving Day 1991, she was an Egyptian-born fashion model. And she was 23 when she repeatedly plunged her husband with a pair of scissors into the chest, stomach of Bill Nelson, her 56-year-old pilot husband. Then she would reach for a clothing iron. As Bill flailed, she began to pummel him to death with the iron until it actually broke. Just imagine how much force that took, guys. Seriously. She would unleash her fury, claiming that sexual terror to which Bill subjected her to, with acts reportedly including him pimping her out to bribe the kinky old creeps in exchange for rent, cash, and in one case, a car. Then, when Bill finally expired, she butchered his body on the kitchen floor. She then boiled his hands in oil to remove the fingerprints, stuck his head in the freezer so she could later break it off. In a symbolic revenge, she made a point castrating her husband as well. She snapped. She actually snapped. I'm excited to look into that case as well. Next on our list we have Michael Mig. And this was a Thanksgiving massacre that was 20 years in the making. November 26, 2009, South Florida resident Michael Mig ate a hearty Thanksgiving meal with 16 members of friends conversing and joking over their sing-alongs. After dinner, he whipped out a handgun and executed 4 relatives, including his cousin-in-law, his twin sisters, and one of whom who was pregnant, and his cousin's 6-year-old daughter. And he reportedly said, "I've waited 20 years to do this." He fled the scene, but he was captured and eventually cut a plea deal for 7 consecutive life sentences to avoid the death penalty. Let it go, dude. Just let it go. It's the best option, and it's so much more peaceful when you just learn to let it go. Anyway, Next on our list, we have Ayala's Clay Oliver. And this was a Colorado father who kills his son over unfinished Thanksgiving chores. This was seriously. So, Oliver, who was 76, had an annoyance toward his son Oliver, who was 49. Yeah, keep in mind, a grown man who did not have any Thanksgiving chores finished. The young man's refusal to help out around the house escalated to a homicidal rage. Thanksgiving Day 2009. The father and the son had reportedly been arguing for hours. Prior to Marjorie Oliver, 75, Ayala's wife, and Keith Oliver's mother, soon had asking their son to leave. He refused, and his father went upstairs, retrieved a .357 caliber revolver, and shot Oliver to death. Next, we have A Man's Home is His Castle, and this is Byron Davis Smith, Thanksgiving Day Murders. So, Smith was a retired securities engineering officer in the U.S. Department, and he dealt with his Little Falls, Minnesota home, and he burglarized several times in the past few months. He installed an alarm system complete with video cameras aimed for several areas around his home. Then on Thanksgiving Day 2012, he sat in his basement with a rifle and waited. The video from the day captures Smith moving his truck from the driveway prior to the breakup to make it appear as if he weren't home. Then and entering the property, the teens in their hoodies can be seen crashing the place before entering the property. The teens were Helen Aline Kiefer, 18, and her cousin Nicholas Brady, 17, both whom unarmed. Smith had been suspected Kiefer and Brady of being responsible for some earlier break-ins, and they had occurred earlier that day. So when Smith sat down in the basement waiting, he had a tape recording over. There are several hours in audio recording of the document, in this time lying in the wait. In the audio recordings capture the shots fired, and Smith stated Smith during the killing, saying, "I refuse to live in fear. I am not a bleeding heart liberal. I just felt like I was cleaning up the mess. I was doing my civic duty. I don't see them as human, I see them as vermin." That's messed up right there. It really is. Anyway, despite the dead bodies in the house, Smith wouldn't actually call the police until the next day, stating that he didn't want to bother them because it was Thanksgiving holiday. Yeah. Next the last one on our list is Shanika Alsop, and she stabs her half-brother in the neck while serving for it on Thanksgiving dinner. So, in Thanksgiving 2012, turned up the celebrants gathered at the home of Shanika Alsop, and, of course, a sibling spat between the two was Deontay Antonio Wallace, who was 23, and the neck was serving for. While Wallace survived and also went to jail for first-degree assault, second-degree assault, and reckless endangerment. Anyway, that is it for today's episode. If you want more details, you can check my podcast out, and these episodes will be out during Thanksgiving, just to add more fun to it. I will see y'all next time, and you guys have a fun turkey day.